Hello, dear friends. The control of the human brain has always existed, but now we have a very sophisticated technology that didn't exist before. This is a delicate subject, but I will try to present it with equanimity. Opinion piece. Cognitive warfare. The brain as a battlefield. Technology to control the brain. A higher level of consciousness can be accessed. Bitcoin hits record high of $62,000 on Friday. Electric cars flying on autopilot. Europe's energy crisis is a signal to the US. WECA's shortage extends to technical staff. Austrian Armed Forces prepare for a blackout. Maradolar, Argentina's first popular cryptocurrency, is born. US fines Tether $35 million for lying about its stockpile. The IMF believes stable cryptocurrencies are a global danger. Drought in northern Kenya pushes millions into hunger. United Nations believe fuel crisis could cause energy poverty. United Kingdom builds world's first airport for flying cars. Let's start. The idea that the human brain is the battlefield for the 21st century was the theme of a roundtable discussion on so-called cognitive warfare held October 5th by the NATO Association in Canada. It is defined as a battle for the brain in the human domain to weaponize everyone. The new method exploits vulnerabilities in the human brain to apply more sophisticated social engineering. Until recently, warfare had been divided into 5 different operational domains: air, land, sea, space, and cyber. But with its development of cognitive warfare strategies, a new 6th level called the human domain is being discussed. The ultimate goal of these cognitive warfare efforts, in quotes, is to weaponize everyone and shepherd the militarization of brain science, as future conflicts will likely occur between people, first digitally, then physically. In quotes again, most conflicts remain below the traditional threshold of the commonly accepted definition of war, but new forms of warfare have emerged, such as information and cognitive warfare, while the human brain is becoming a new domain of warfare. In quotes again, the brain will be the battlefield of the 21st century, highlighted the report. Humans are the contested domain, and future conflicts are likely to occur between people first digitally and then physically in proximity to centers of political and economic power. Increased level of awareness. New research has uncovered verifiable scientific evidence that humans can access a higher level of consciousness. Researchers used brain imaging equipment to analyze the small magnetic fields created in the brain and found that in 3 substances the diversity of neural signals was much greater, according to Gautam Pedada. The neuroscientists discovered a prolonged increase in the diversity of neural signals, a measure of the complexity of brain activity compared to when they were awake. The variety of brain impulses gives a mathematical indicator of the degree of consciousness. People who are awake, for example, have more diversified brain activity than those who are asleep, according to this research. The findings could help fuel ongoing conversations about the strictly supervised medical use of such drugs, such as in the treatment of severe depression. In addition, the study contributes to developing scientific knowledge of how they are connected and at the conscious level and the content of what one is aware of. Short news. Signs of crisis. This Thursday, there were shortages of food, goods, gasoline, and energy crisis, and cyber attacks on hospitals around the world. Walmart, Costco, and Target were chartering their own cargo ships to import goods, paying about $100,000 a day, or 4 times more than last year, the cost of which would be paid by the consumer. Moody's warns of dark clouds for global supply chains as 77% of world's largest ports face delays. Moody Analytics warned Monday that there is no easy solution to the supply chain crisis. Data shows that 77% of the world's major ports have experienced a spike in turnaround time this year. Backlogs at Southern California ports are the largest in the world. Shortages. A shortage of just about everything looms ahead of the holiday season as more than 150 container ships wait off the California coast and rail yards clog due to the shortage of dock workers and truckers. Ford will suspend production at its plant in Hermosillo, Mexico, due to material shortages. Worker shortage extends to technical personnel. First, there was a shortage of truck drivers, then slaughterhouse and warehouse workers. Now it is technology workers who are in high demand in the UK. Blockchaining goods is complex, but the solutions are simple according to J.D. Rucker. People are needed to work at ports, in warehouses, and behind the wheels of trucks to get supplies to stores. That takes money, but the millions it would take to fix it are small compared to the billions in economic losses that would be experienced in the coming weeks if they don't do something about it. Shortages. The stockout hashtag #EmptyShelvesYo is trending on Twitter. Numerous users wrote on their Twitter accounts about empty shelves and skyrocketing prices in supermarkets. The supply chain crisis has erupted as increased consumer demand has run head-on into the reality of a globalized economy. There are not enough truck drivers and workers in the ports, causing ships carrying goods from the huge bottlenecks at sea. United Nations warns that the fuel crisis could cause energy poverty. The fuel crisis in the European Union will affect the economies of the most vulnerable countries in the European bloc and threatens to cause energy poverty, said the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, Olga Algarayova. On the positive side, white hats are behind the scenes and flying electric cars and electric autopilot planes are coming soon. That is why you'll see many airlines remain grounded, so they can switch everything over to the new planes. The UK is building the world's first airport for flying cars. Worldwide blackout. The Austrian Armed Forces uploaded an infotainment video a couple of days ago explaining how they are prepared for a widespread, possible, even Europe-wide blackout. They say that everyone's electricity would be briefly turned off to install the new Starlink satellite internet system. The beta version is ready to go and is 7,500 times faster than what we have, that we already know. The system would be controlled by secret space programs, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Space Force, which was unveiled in 2018. The Starlink quantum system would control many new systems on this planet. This is how we would get a new internet, free energy, new voting systems, and quantum currencies. At the end of December, they started testing. Israel shut down for half an hour. Then in January, they tried shutting down 10 countries at a time. I don't think I have seen any since then. Just major internet outages. Israel issues warning to economy after hospital cyber attack. Israel has issued a broad warning to the economy as a defensive measure following a ransomware cyber attack on a hospital into the north of the country. The warning includes identifying details on the attack on the Hillel Jaffe Medical Center in the northern city of Hadera. Staff are working to restore the hospital's computer systems to full operation as soon as possible. Europe's energy crisis is a warning sign for the US. An energy crisis is rocking the world, the likes of which we have not seen since the 70s, while headlines about energy costs in faraway countries may not cross the political radar of busy families. The energy shortages and the skyrocketing prices sweeping across Europe and Asia are a warning sign for the US. Russia is not manipulating the gas market to drive up costs, says European Commission. There is no evidence that Russia state-owned energy giant Gazprom is trying to squeeze Western European fuel supplies, the European Commission has said, amid sharply rising prices and fears of shortages in the run-up to winter. Torrential rains follow wildfires in Greece. Torrential rain flooded rivers, roads and homes across Greece, many past just recovering from summer wildfires, prompting hundreds of calls for help to rescue people and pump water. Spain. Empty Spain claims its share of power. In quotes, Spain is like a bell, all inhabited on the periphery, then the emptiness, and in the center a clapper, Madrid, which is the one that sets the rhythm of the bell. With this image describes the writer Julio Llamazares from León, one of the depopulated provinces of the interior, the phenomenon that has come to be known as empty Spain. In order to put an end to the damage caused by this situation in terms of investment and opportunities, citizens' platforms from 28 of Spain's 50 provinces have come together and are prepared to present a single voice in the Spanish parliament in order to assert themselves politically. Spain approves the extradition to the US of Venezuela's former national treasurer. Spain's national court approved the extradition to the US of Venezuela's former national treasurer, Claudia Patricia Díaz-Guillén, wanted for money laundering and criminal organization offenses. South America. Ecuador's president must appear before the Constitutional Guarantees Commission of the National Assembly as part of the investigation into the Pandora's Papers case, which implicates the president among the heads of the state with capital in tax havens. The Evita movement, an increasingly strong popular voice in Argentina. The Evita movement is one of the main movements in Argentina, with a large organized social force. Its General Secretary, Emilio Persico, calls it the last ones in line. The Frente de Todos, front of everybody, in the legislative elections of November 14th. Peruvian farmers develop a potato resistant to climate change. Peruvian farmers, producers and scientists have developed a new potato variety they have named ZIP Matilde, immune to diseases such as late blight or potato blight, and capable of resisting climate change. The United Nations welcomes the sentence to Honduras for violating human rights of mosquito divers. The UN welcomed Friday the decision of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights to condemn Honduras for various violations of the human rights of 42 indigenous mosquitoes who were engaged in diving fishing. Economy. Global stocks hit best day in 5 months. Stocks rose globally Friday in their best day in 5 months as a strong corporate earnings reports fueled optimism about the economy, although 3-year high oil prices kept inflation risks alive and lifted bond yields. Spanish stock market rises 0.81% and touches 9,000 points. The Spanish stock market rose this percentage on Friday and touched 9,000 points by Wall Street's 0.8% advance and a recovery in banking, which offset the drop in energy companies. Big banks warn market volatility is coming soon. Market volatility has fallen since September, but the nation's top bankers warn that the turmoil could soon return, thanks to the Federal Reserve, IMF, and World Bank meetings. Supply chain problems and rising inflation concerns pushed aside the growing debt problems of developing countries this week, as the top concerns of global policymakers at the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin surpasses $62,000 after news of the Securities and Exchange Commission's plans to create the first cryptocurrency fund. The price of Bitcoin reached a high of $62,757 on Friday, beating the previous day's record when it was trading at 58,518. The all-time high was recorded in April when the Bitcoin reached more than $64,000. Friday's rise is due to plans by the Securities and Exchange Commission to authorize the first Bitcoin futures fund. Maradolar, Argentina's first popular cryptocurrency, is born. Almost a year after his death, Diego Armando Maradona is honored with the launch of a cryptocurrency in his honor. The Maradolar will be officially launched on the 10th by birthday. U.S. fines Tether $35 million for lying about its reserves. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission has fined Tether, issuer of the stablecoin on the same name, $41 million for lying to investors about the backup reserves in yield for the digital currency. Bank of England warns cryptos could trigger 2008-style crisis. Warns that cryptocurrencies could trigger a 2008-style global financial crisis if strict regulations are not applied to these assets. In quotes, When something in the financial systems grows very fast, and it grows in a largely unregulated space, the authorities need to sit up and take notice, the bank said. The man who broke the Bank of England owns bitcoins. Bitcoin is a new uptrend, and one of the reasons for the rally appears to be related to the recent revelation that it has been invested in bitcoins by the asset management firm of George Soros, known as the man who broke the Bank of England, according to MoneyWise portal. Danger of cryptocurrencies. IMF has a serious problem with the stable currency Tether. It fears a potential risk of contagion to the financial system. The IMF currently doesn't see cryptocurrencies as a risk to the global financial system, although, ironically, some of them are designed to replace that system someday. What the IMF is concerned about is the growing market value of stable coins, and especially how the price of such a coin is supported. Stable currencies are cryptocurrencies that closely track the price of fiat currencies such as the dollar or euro. They are purchased with fiat money and exchanged on crypto exchanges for digital currencies or other crypto services. The IMF believes that fiat currencies could fall victim to massive sell-offs during difficult financial times, which could affect the entire global financial system due to their huge market value. Short news. US wants to resume the Stay in Mexico program. The government would resume the program of protection protocols for migrants, through which some 70,000 Central American asylum seekers were sent to Mexico to await the resolution of their cases. Russian Navy prevents US destroyer from violating its border. Russia's Pacific Fleet prevented an attempt by the destroyer Chaffee to enter Russian territorial waters near Vladivostok. The US Navy insists the destroyer was on a routine mission after Russia summoned a military attaché over the Sea of Japan incident. Twitch source code exposed. Amazon-owned Twitch said last week's data breach at the live streaming esports platform contained documents from its source code. Drought in northern Kenya pushes millions toward starvation. In northern Kenya, the ribs of dead sheep stretched toward the scorching sun, and parched pastoralists trashed by a day's march from the water. The value of their skinny goats is falling as fast as the prices scrawled on the sacks and at the market are skyrocketing. China's financial system is nearing maximum stress. China is nearing the maximum stress level as concerns mount over its property sector around troubled developer China Evergrande Group and its investors should not expect a sustained rally in the country's stock market until the credit cycle improves. China cuts magnesium production due to energy shortages. Gema metal and automotive industries affected. Association wants that the Europe-wide stocks will be exhausted by the end of November. The deadly typhoon Kompasu has hit Hong Kong and engulfed southern China. China's ghost cities, 65 million empty homes. More than 65 million homes have been built in the Asian giant in the last 2 decades, in the heat of the brick boom giving rise to ghost cities that are not being filled and will not be in real demand for decades. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.